Today, I'm going to be creating art with this. If you are unfamiliar, it is a caulk gun for silicone, aka these guys, which I wish that I could do a full twirl. Just pretend. Oh my gosh, this is not off to a great start. I promise the art will be better, maybe. And colorful cabochons. Lots and lots of cabochons. I had an idea, and it's going to involve this giant canvas panel. But before I get into the big one, I'm gonna try to do some test pieces on these smaller wood panels and these canvas panels, just to see how the silicone adheres to the surfaces. I came across a few people who have done Decoden wall art that's kind of similar, but none of them actually incorporate the Decoden design into a full painting and do shapes, but I do want to give credit. So instead of doing Decoden on a tiny phone case or notebook cover or pencil case, which I've done a couple of those in the past, I'll link those below if you're interested. Without further ado, let's start tiny and then move our way up. So there will be a few different art pieces for you to see in this video. It's time for attempt number 1. Ow! Somehow that did not pop my nail off. This could be a pretty messy project, so I didn't want to redo my nails before the video. Hopefully you can deal with the nastiness. Next, let's load the gun. How do I do this? Stumped on step number 1. Just kidding. This. Which, now it's ready to load. So put you right there. To freshen up my memory, I watched a really helpful video by Alexa from Decoden Dream, and it was how to Decoden, the only Decoden tutorial you'll ever need. Decoden. Thank you, Alexa, for refreshing my memory and teaching me more than I've ever known, really. All the products that you recommended, I tried to get for this, so hopefully everything works out great. We'll see. You just saw me try to load the gun. I have the 21 star tip by Wilton, and then I'm going to cut the tip off the icing bag. This goes through. Okay, that's in there nice and snug. This one I'm just going to do white, so I'm not gonna mix any color into it. For the next one, I'll mix a paint color. I'm just gonna shoot this right in. Oh, what the? Maybe I didn't cut the tip enough. What is wrong with this gun? Is it just me? These are so cute. I don't even want to use them. I want to put them in a little display case and look at them forever. Look how cute this bunny is. A little rainbow with a smiley face cloud. Oh, a little pink bow. Cannot handle the cuteness overload. Holy shoot. It's not even moving. So I didn't read the instructions. Step 2, cut the nozzle. Step 3, pierce the inner foil seal. So I'm thinking this pokey thing here is gonna do that. Moment of truth. I got it, I got it. Yes! It just keeps coming out on its own until you press a little release. This is not coming out very quick though. I don't even know how much I need, but I can always put more. Let's start with this. Yes, okay, it worked. It looks like a cake on here. Okay, these are not like the most cute squeezes, but I'm trying. Now we're getting up close and personal, so I can show you the details of these star tip squeezes. As you can see, they're not all completely uniform, but that's okay. Ew, that one's ugly. Why? I think this way it'll add more character to the piece, because if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm constructing a fluffy cloud. I noticed that the caulk did seem to melt a bit and not hold its shape as much when I got to the end. And I'm thinking that's because of the heat buildup from my fingers that caused this to happen. So I went ahead and added more fresh caulk off camera, and I made it look a lot better in my opinion. It's definitely a much more inviting throne for this cute moon bear to rest its paws on than it was before. And Miss Moon Bear gets to sit next to these other embellishments, which are tiny, shiny gems. By the way, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to get adhesive gems. I'm just using what I happen to have laying around. And for some reason, I decided to use a paintbrush to help me push the rhinestones into place. I mean, the end of the paintbrush is fine, but using using the bristles is just asking for this brush to get completely wrecked. I guess sometimes I like to live on the edge, what can I say? Once all those were placed, I let the piece dry completely before moving on. For such a wonky cloud, it actually turned out pretty cute. It's bendy too, so flexible. I like it. It'll look better once I paint the background, I hope. Many months later, paint the background I did. Here I'm using Liquitex acrylic paint in various shades of blue, and I'm blending these hues together to achieve a gradient sky. I even added some slight texture with the paint to make the background more dynamic. Then I took a break again for 3 entire months. So as you see me draw twinkly stars with a fine point Posca paint pen, you're actually witnessing a process I completed in September of 2023. But all that really matters is I did finish, and I got this video posted, which you're watching, so you know. Aside from a few gaps in the cloud, I think it turned out pretty cute. Will the second piece be better? Let's find out. These are the exact same steps I did to prep for the first piece, except this time I'm going to add color to the caulk. So I'm squeezing it into a cup first. Then with this Liquitex acrylic paint, I'm mixing in a little dot. The color gets saturated really quickly, so there was no need for me to overdo it. Also, the way I'm filling the piping bag is not great, I know. I made a mess. I should have folded down the excess plastic, but oh well, you live and you learn. Well, actually, honestly, I knew that it was gonna make a mess, but I was just being lazy. It still turned out okay. This time, instead of wood, you can see I'm using a canvas panel as the base. And apparently, I decided to be really brave here. No guidelines. I just went in freehand and it worked, thankfully. My goal was to create a crescent moon, and I accomplished that. Again, I'm going to embellish using some half pearls in different sizes. Also, these tweezers made the application process very easy. Much better than the paintbrush I chose earlier. Look at that shimmer that you probably can't see because I overexposed the camera, didn't I? The process was such a mess, but I'm happy that I followed through with it. I do have to add a little cloud down here so the star can take a nap. The cloud I'm creating here is more of a fluffy marshmallow blob as opposed to the fancy texture of the moon, which gives the scene a good amount of contrast. And it makes a perfect resting spot for this sleepy little star. Now, let's fast forward again from February all the way to September. Here I am painting another gradient sky, this time with pink and purple. By the way, you can see I got some paint on the silicone. It flakes off really easily after it dries, so no problem at all, and it ends up looking really clean. That is after I paint on some white clouds and dot in a group of stars at the top. The third piece of art won't be another sky, but it will be night themed. Let's get into that now. For the next piece, let's see what this little piggy is dreaming about, shall we? I bet it's food. I haven't decided yet if it's going to be on here or here. This is the time for these tiny dessert cabochons to shine. I got all of them from Amazon and will link them in the description box below along with all the other supplies I used in case you're interested. Also, the Piggy Pop will not be participating in this project because we don't support cannibalism here. And because brown doesn't fit the color scheme at all. Okay, so let's draw the outline of the dream cloud. I'm using a colored pencil for this, as you can see, and after that's sketched out, I'm finalizing the placement of all the colorful charms I chose. It's really important to have a plan in place because silicone tends to have quite a small window of work time. So taking a photo for reference is very helpful. That way it won't dry before you get all your pieces in place. Still, I want to make this process as easy as possible, so when I move the cabochons to the side, I'm keeping them in the same arrangement. And even though I'm not going to attach this snoozing piggy until the very end, I'm prepping the back of the figure by roughing it up with a couple different grits of sandpaper, trimming some inches off the booty, which is the opposite of what I want to do for myself in real life. Anyway, I'm going to score the plastic with an X-Acto blade, and this should help the glue adhere better later on when I want to stick the piggy on. But now it's time for the silicone. I'm only piping on part of the shape at first because I don't want it to harden before I apply all the cabochons and gems to this area I mentioned earlier. You know, there's kind of a small window of work time. It's not the most rushed, but looking back, I probably should have started with half the amount of silicone because I did have to kind of rush a bit more when I got down to the tiniest rhinestones at the end. Luckily they stuck well and I carried on with the next section. As I got closer to the bottom, you can see the silicone began to lose its shape yet again. So the texture of the dream cloud isn't consistent throughout, but it isn't overly noticeable either. So overall, when I applied these final gems, I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. Little did I know I wouldn't revisit working on this piece until May of 2024. So just 5 days prior to recording this voiceover, I decided on a gray background. Before then, I had no idea what I wanted the back to look like. Maybe that's why I took such a long break and worked on other projects. Anyway, I mixed that color with a couple different tubes of acrylic paint and applied the mixture with 2 different sizes of paint brushes. One for detailing and one for larger areas, so I didn't have to spend so much time with the smaller one. I tried to brush the paint on as smoothly as I possibly could, covering all the exposed wood, and that includes all 4 edges. So I covered everything, and I think I did 2 coats. So after the first one dried, worked on another one, made sure it was smooth and even. Before I show you the finished product, let me tell you about my previous video here on SoCraftastic in case you missed it. It's a really special one, and it's actually now the biggest YouTube art collaboration ever. So if you want to see my part in it and stay tuned for the journey with 50 other artists, the book is going to be traveling all over the world, so please check that out if you're interested. After the paint was completely dry, I filled in the 5 circles at the bottom of the canvas, and I think this silicone is matte instead of shiny. I don't know how I made that mistake, but it doesn't really look that different. I don't know, maybe I'll want to fix it later. Anyway, I sanded off a small area of paint where the pig is going to lay down, and I used E6000 glue, really strong stuff, to attach the little guy. And there he is. There you have it, a sleeping pig dreaming of the most delicious of desserts. In the comment section below, let me know which of the 3 pieces I created in this video is your favorite, and do you want to see me do a part 2? Because I still have that idea on the really big canvas. Maybe it won't take me an entire year to get to it. I'll see you very soon in my next artsy video. Bye! How do we do this? Dude, how do you do this? That's a terrible noise. It's like gushing.